Good day, my name is Brian, and here I'm giving a slight update of the new skins I'm working on for Aurora. And there are some limitations and everything based on how things are situated because there's no documentation or anything like that. So, based off my experience, I have to be doing trial and error, and hopefully, I can get this completed. As to when will be completed, I have no idea. So, I will show the progress I have so far, the different changes that I've made. Alright, so far I'm revamping the blade dash to work with Aurora. So so far, let's start from the system tab. So I've changed basically where you have CPU temperature. So I've changed the UI in that section where you have CPU, GPU, RAM, and the case temperature, and see where I put where the minimum and maximum temperature and where the buttons are. I've modified those also. And you have your IP address and everything. Um, Moving over to the control panel tab. See here we have your security, assets, profile, all those other options. You have your gaming option, which haven't started working on this tab as yet. This was a previous tab that I've now transferred to the control panel tab. One of the issues that I'm having is that whatever information that have been saved within the skin, I'm not able to pull it up over by the control panel tab. Sure, these are made differently, whereas if I go by the control panel tab, when you select a menu, it open up in a different file. If I go back, you can see I design each of this, but somehow the information is not being carried over. I'm not quite sure why. But compared to here where everything is on this one tab here, the information covered just fine. That I have to try and figure out. Same with the personalization. I'm going to redo this also. Not every single thing works. Again, there's no documentation showing the construction of Aurora skin to make something unique. Going over to where we have scripts. I'm going to redo this tab right here um, to make it as though the control panel tab is where it open up with blades. Same thing with the file manager. This, I'm not quite sure why it looks like this, but I'm going to redo it. Regardless, I'm unable to pull information of the current devices or anything that's plugged in. Hopefully when I redo it, I'm able to get the information. And soon I'm gonna transfer over to the PC and show you basically the complications that I'm running into in creating this scan. So let's shut down the Xbox and let's go over to the PC, and I'll explain my process and the issues that I'm running into. All right, so here I'm in the Xbox UI Tool Studio. So I've loaded up the skin that I'm working on, and basically most of the tabs that I'm working on are derived from the original Aurora skin, and this is the setting section of it. So this is where you have your assets, profile, content, module, language and security, and about. And you can see that, you have the tabs, and each of these tabs refer to this section, which is a settings for tabs. I can see there are 7 tabs and 7 buttons. And based on my observation, so for example, the assets tab, there's an override class that relays information. My guess is from the Aurora application itself. I mean that this is a class override, meaning that there possibly is an override class in Aurora that, get information from a parent class and pass it down. And possibly in that class, it referred to different elements where data can be passed. And understanding that if that be the case, probably the source code is either written in C++ or C sharp, one of the two, but each tab have their own override class based on their name. And as you know, functions that basically behave as override class, they relay information, overriding whatever the parent class have passed down. Being that there's no documentation of that, but based on my knowledge, that's what I'm assuming. Now, I try the same thing in passing down to this tab. So this would have been the tab that get access from control panel, which loads a different file. And this tab is only for the assets. So it has the same override class that I've set, but yet informations are not being pulled or referred to. My assumption could is that because this setting tab have 7 different tabs that it refers to, all of this is on one XUR file where all the tabs are interchangeable, whereas my design have a tab for each XUR file. I'm not quite sure how that actually work. There's no documentation ever, but I try to replicate the same thing, and the information doesn't retain. Whereas if I go to the main Aurora main that I did, and if I go, let's go to okay, all right. So let's go to that, which ended up being on this. I'm going to the tab right there. So the only difference is that I copied over the old section from the original, putting on this part in the main, and it has all those tabs. And you can see that each of these tabs, they do have the class override and all different section. So normally when this is run on the Xbox itself, all the information are pulled from Aurora settings, like the core Aurora application, and transferred to the skins. And it will work in this section, but as you can see in the previous video, if I should try to do it separately and separate it in different tabs, so to speak, the information doesn't get referred to, even though I'm using the class override. And same goes to if I pull up another one that I did, which is did I not did that properly? Okay. So yeah, it still doesn't refer the information. So that's the part where I'm stuck at. Like if I had some way to determine or to refer to what elements are in the class, I would be more equipped to actually do this. For example, if I go back to here, all right. So we're gonna look at the asset class right here. So for example, you have the setting asset. My assumption is that within that class, um, it may refer to different checkboxes, which may have a true or false based on what has been set on the console through the Aurora application. And that information is stored basically like in a parent class. And then there's a child class, which is the override class, refers that information to these elements. And I'm guessing these elements has to be named uniquely. So you can see each element have their own ID. So I don't know if in the class it referred to like download box or check, which is a checkbox. And based on that information, it will refer to these, and it will show true or false whether that feature is enabled, which is difficult to say. And let's bring a bare assumption here. So, you know, that's where I'm kind of stuck at because it's hard to say. For example, yeah, 1, 2, 3. So this will be the language. So with status, you have the Ellen, and you have all of these. So it's hard to say when you click to change the setting. I know it brings up something else. Yeah, it's hard to say what it's referred to. You have to correctly map all the elements so that the setting retains. Um, the same issue with the file manager. So so with the file manager itself, I am getting the same issue, whereas things that should show up are not showing up. I know I load the skin properly. I'm not quite sure why that's not coming. Allow me to. Okay. So the file manager. Uh, Nothing really shows the way it should. And sure, for the top level, there's a override class that says file manager. And if you go down a couple levels to the file manager tab scene, there's tab 1 and 2. You can see that these tab also referred to as file manager tab. And we see in these, you have, for example, current path. We don't have the current path of a reference that to show what the current path of where you're navigating. It's hard to say. Again, there's no reference for me to actually get any information. The content container is this is basically a file list, so that has the file manager list. So this is also a class that will pull information and store it in a list format. And as in C sharp, you have different type of list element like list box and so forth, which these also have like shop comma box and comma box list and everything, and actual elements. But it'll be good to have some sort of reference to know, you know, what element Aurora refers to. And in that sense, it'll be easy to construct the theme properly. Because if I know that, you know, the file list manager requires, you know, a list box or whatever list element individual here, I could assign it and guarantee that, you know, that information will be there. And then when the user goes and select one, they can actually select whatever file or whatever they need to do, and they can do whatever action. Whether they want to, you know, select it and then it will refer up to whether they want to cut, paste, or, you know, copy. But yeah, it's hard to, you know, determine because, you know, there's no guide or anything. So, and based on my progress, um, I'm gonna redo a couple of the tabs. The ones that I've already finished based on what I'm doing are the setting tab. Let me close that off. Right. So this tab right here, I know I've completed this tab. Still have to fix the file manager and the script submenu. This tab I've already finished. So have to finish the submenu for these. You have the game tab to finish, and these two tabs, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to replace them with, but I know I have to do the theme tab properly because I've experienced an issue where that is. But beside all of that, then that's where I'm at with the progress. So I welcome any information or any reference, so for me to complete this. Be greatly appreciated. And yeah, that's where I'm at so far.